A simple oil change can either keep your engine running strong or quietly ruin it over time. Most drivers unknowingly make small mistakes that lead to major repairs. From using the wrong oil to skipping easy steps, these costly oil change mistakes can shorten your engine's life fast. Avoiding them might be the easiest way to protect your car today. Number 11. Delaying your oil change. One of the most common mistakes car owners make is putting off oil changes longer than they should. It's easy to do, especially with modern vehicles running so smoothly. Years ago, the rule was simple: every 3,000 miles or 3 months. But most newer engines and synthetic oils can go much farther, usually around 5,000 to 7,500 miles. That said, your owner's manual is still the most reliable source for knowing what your specific vehicle needs. Even if you don't drive much, it's wise to change your oil at least twice a year. Many modern cars have sensors that give you a reminder when it's time. Ignoring those alerts can mean more damage than you'd expect from just waiting an extra few weeks. Of course, it's not just about when you change your oil. How you do it matters just as much. Number 10. Skipping the engine warm-up before changing oil. There's a lot of debate about warming up your engine, especially in winter. For everyday driving, modern engines don't need much idle time before hitting the road. But when it comes to oil changes, letting the engine run briefly can make a big difference. Running your car for about 5 minutes before draining the oil helps in 2 ways. First, it slightly thins the oil, making it easier to flow. Second, it loosens grime and sludge, helping more of the old oil and the junk it carries leave the system. If you skip this step, more residue may cling to the inside of the engine and the oil pan, reducing the benefits of the fresh oil you're about to add. That said, don't work with oil that's just come off a long drive. Hot oil can cause burns. It's best to wait about 30 minutes after driving, then start your oil change. At that point, the oil is still warm enough to flow well, but not hot enough to be dangerous. Then again, warming up the engine won't help much if you're putting in the wrong oil to begin with. Number 9. Using the wrong motor oil. Not all motor oil is created equal. While an experienced mechanic should know which type to use, anyone changing their own oil needs to be sure they're using the right kind. There are several kinds to choose from: conventional, high mileage, synthetic, and blends, and each one is designed for specific engine needs. Your vehicle's manual spells out exactly what it requires, and that guidance shouldn't be ignored. Choosing the wrong oil can affect more than just performance. In fact, continued use of the wrong oil may lead to serious internal damage, especially if the oil lacks the additives your engine depends on. In fact, some warranties become void if the wrong oil has been used during maintenance. It's tempting to save money by going with a cheaper option, but if your car calls for synthetic, that's what it should get. Saving a few bucks now can lead to a much bigger bill down the road. Still, even the perfect oil won't help if you pour in too much or not enough. Number 8. Too much or too little oil. Getting the oil level right might sound simple, but it's a common mistake that can cause serious problems either way. If your engine is running low on oil, friction increases between the moving parts. That extra wear affects how smoothly the engine performs, and you'll likely notice it when trying to accelerate or go uphill. Insufficient lubrication strains the entire system and reduces efficiency, even if the oil is clean. Now, adding too much oil can be just as harmful. Overfilling can cause oil to come in contact with the crankshaft, which sends it into places it doesn't belong, like the exhaust system. That buildup creates blockages over time and increases pressure inside the engine. When that pressure builds, it can damage gaskets and seals, which may lead to leaks you'll regret later. If your engine starts making odd sounds or you see smoke coming from the tailpipe, overfilling could be the reason. Don't guess how much oil your car needs. Your owner's manual gives exact figures, usually somewhere between 5 and 8 quarts. You've got the right amount. Now make sure it's flowing through something that isn't already full of grime. Number 7. Skipping the oil filter replacement. Changing your oil is only half the job. The other half is replacing the oil filter. That small part plays a big role by keeping dirt, metal shavings, and sludge out of your engine. If you pour in fresh oil but leave the dirty filter in place, that clean oil won't stay clean for long. Contaminants get pushed right back into circulation, and the benefits of the oil change are lost. A good shop will always include a new oil filter during a full service change, but if you're doing it yourself, it's one more thing you need to pick up. Most cars use what's called a full flow filter, which traps particles before they can harm the engine. Some vehicles may also have a secondary filter for added protection. Always check your manual so you know exactly what parts your car requires before you start. If you forget the filter during the oil change, you can still swap it out later. Just be sure not to wait too long. Clean oil works best when it's running through a clean system. That is, if the new filter actually goes on the right way. Number 6. Incorrectly installing the oil filter. Putting in a new oil filter isn't difficult, but it still has to be done the right way. To reduce the chance of trouble, always lubricate the new O-ring before installing the filter. Most replacement filters come with a fresh O-ring, and it's important to use it. A bit of clean oil around the ring helps it slide into place more easily and hold its seal without being stressed during tightening. Also, make sure the filter itself fits your car. Using the wrong size, even if it almost fits, can cause serious problems. It needs the right gasket diameter, thread pitch, and height to match your engine's design. Stick with a recommended model rather than gambling on aftermarket parts. Oil filters are inexpensive, so it's not worth cutting corners on something this important. Same goes for the bolt underneath. Tighten it wrong, and things get messy fast. Number 5. Over-tightening the oil drain plug. Once the old oil has drained, the next step is reinstalling the oil drain plug. It seems simple enough, but over-tightening it is a mistake that can cause big problems. Many people assume tighter means safer, but forcing it past its natural stopping point can strip the threads. If the plug doesn't sit properly, it may leak. Worse yet, the damage can make future oil changes a real headache. You don't need power tools to get the plug in place. In fact, using one could do more harm than good. A hand wrench works just fine. Tighten it gently until it stops naturally. Going past that point may create the illusion of a snug fit, but in reality, it often leads to cross-threading. The next time you try to unscrew it, it might not budge at all. If the threads are damaged, you could be looking at more than just a stuck plug. You might need a whole new oil pan. That's not a small repair, and it's entirely avoidable with the right touch. Then again, even the perfect twist won't help if what's underneath the plug is past its prime. Number 4. Skipping the drain plug gasket replacement. It's easy to miss, but that little gasket on your oil drain plug matters more than most people realize. It's what keeps oil from leaking out after you've finished the job. Ideally, the gasket should be replaced with every oil change. Some folks stretch it to every other change, depending on the vehicle. But given how inexpensive they are, it makes more sense to replace it each time and avoid problems. Gaskets wear out gradually. They can harden, crack, or become misshapen. Once that happens, it's difficult for them to hold a proper seal. Some drivers go years without replacing one and seem to get by, but that's not a reliable plan. Older gaskets are more likely to allow leaks or force you to over-tighten the plug just to stop the dripping. That extra pressure wears out the oil pan threads over time, turning a cheap gasket into a much costlier repair. For a part that costs a couple of dollars at most, skipping it isn't worth the risk. And if that tiny gasket failure leads to a leak, ignoring it can open the door to far bigger trouble. Number 3. Ignoring oil leaks and engine warnings. Spotting an oil leak is never something to brush off. There are a few warning signs to watch for. Oil spots under the car, a consistent drop in oil level despite regular top-ups, or unusual smells around the vehicle are all red flags. If the engine starts to sound off while doing everyday driving, something is likely wrong. Letting these issues slide increases the risk of overheating or serious engine damage. Oil is essential for keeping engine components cool and moving properly. Without enough of it, parts start grinding, overheating, and eventually failing. Getting your oil checked regularly and addressing leaks right away can prevent all that. It keeps your engine running smoothly and helps avoid costly repairs later on. Still, not every threat announces itself. Sometimes the oil looks fine right up until it isn't. Number 2. Assuming clean oil means it's still good. Many drivers check their dipstick, see clean oil, and think everything's fine. It's a common assumption, but not a reliable one. Oil doesn't have to look dirty to be worn out. In fact, oil can lose its effectiveness long before its color starts to change. Over time, motor oil breaks down due to heat, pressure, and exposure to contaminants. Even if it still looks clear, its ability to lubricate and protect engine parts may already be reduced. Most oils today include additives that help trap debris and prevent sludge, which can keep the oil looking clean for longer. But looks can be deceiving. Relying only on appearance to decide whether it's time for an oil change is risky. Instead, go by the schedule in your owner's manual or the maintenance reminder on your dashboard. Oil's job is too important to be judged by color alone. Of all the easy mistakes to make, the one that comes after you think you're done might be the messiest of all. Number 1. Forgetting the oil fill cap. After you've finished changing the oil and everything feels like it went perfectly, it's easy to overlook one final step: replacing the oil fill cap. It seems minor, but leaving it off can cause a messy and expensive problem the moment you start the engine. Without the cap, oil isn't contained properly. Once the engine gets going, oil can spray all over the engine bay and under the hood. That leaves you with a serious cleanup job and a situation where you'll probably have to redo the entire oil change from scratch. You can't be sure how much oil you lost or whether any debris found its way into the system, so draining and refilling is the safest option. It only takes a few seconds to double-check that the cap is secure, and doing so can save hours of frustration. DIY oil changes are a great way to save money over time, but skipping this one simple step can turn a routine job into a headache you won't soon forget. Even small oil change mistakes can lead to big repair bills if ignored. Have you ever made one of these mistakes or learned a lesson the hard way? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other car care tips.